Hey guys, welcome to Jeep
Pickup
Challenge Season 2. As you recall, in the first season we bought an old TJ Wrangler and drove it here from California and made it into a nice, clean old truck. Well, this time we've gone one better, Tommy. What have we done?
We're taking it back old school, back to 1989 with a Jeep Comanche.
Yep, we bought a Comanche and we're gonna customize it, and then we're gonna take it to Moab and compare it to the Gladiator.
That's right, we've got this little Jeep. We're gonna turn it into a bigger Jeep and then compare it against an even bigger Jeep. So it'll be a really fun series.
And all that is coming up in the next 8 weeks. Dude, I'm so excited. We just bought ourselves a TJ.
We got it. We're almost there. Nice.
Now it's time for the most important thing, which I think is tires and a lift.
I don't know why I listened to my dad. I should have just brought the Land Rover. There goes the little cheap Jeep. How was the first 100 meters?
First 100 meters was great.
Great, thank you guys. Hey. Our 1989 Comanche looks to be in really good shape, but it has one major flaw. Let's check that out. Our transmission here, well, it's crunchier than a 6-year-old box of Cheez-Its. So in this video, we're gonna see if we can get that nasty transmission sorted and talk about the future plans with our cheap Jeep Series 2. On the face of it, doesn't really look like there's a lot that needs to be done to our Comanche. And that's somewhat true, and it's also somewhat not true. Now structurally, it's very sound. This Comanche has pretty much no rust on it whatsoever. It's got a good solid body, a good solid uniframe, and a really good solid engine. Let me show you that. This is the legendary Jeep Inline 6. Now in 1989, this was considered a low output version. They went to a high output in, I believe, 1991. And it uses an engine management system called Renex. So it well predates OBD2, but it's a pretty complex and not super reliable system. But other than that, the engine is completely sorted. No check engine lights, no problems getting it through emissions. It's very clean. It doesn't even leak out of the valve cover like so many of these do. It doesn't knock, it doesn't smoke, it doesn't use oil. We're not gonna touch it. We wanna keep this Jeep, well, relatively original. We want to keep the stance and the drivetrain original. So we're not going to supercharge it. It doesn't need anything, so we're going to leave it be.
We purchased a Comanche in Greeley, Colorado for $6,500, which we thought was a good deal. Now, the entire goal of this series is to keep the build under $10,000. So how are we going to do that? Well, with the help of our friends, both TerraFlex and BFG are going to donate tires and parts to make this an affordable cheap Jeep pickup challenge. So Tommy, what's the plan for the Comanche?
So here is the overall build vision with this Comanche, and I think it's important to have a vision. This is a very original, fairly low mile, 107,000 mile example. So this is not one we want to lift huge and chop up the flares and put a 35 on. We want to keep this looking relatively original with just a better period stance. So we want to put a slightly larger tire on it, maybe a 30 or 31 inch tire. We want to keep the original turbine style wheels because those are rare and they look awesome. We want to maybe do some modifications to the bed, maybe a bed liner, and then up front we want to maybe do some sort of grill guard or something to spruce it up a little bit. We also want to fix some of the cosmetic issues as well, which we'll go over in a second. Let's keep talking about the drivetrain here. So the 4-liter straight 6 up front, that's good to go. The transmission is a BA10, so it's a Peugeot sourced unit. Now, in later Comanches, they used an Aisin AX15 transmission. That was a much stronger transmission. A lot of you guys told us that this transmission is essentially Swiss cheese. It's going to be terrible. Why even put money into it? Well, we've heard from a lot of people that these transmissions are actually worth saving. So we're gonna try to refresh the transmission, get it to stop crunching, and see how far it'll go. It should be okay because we're not going for a huge tire. We're sticking with a pretty moderate tire. Now in terms of axles, the front axle is a Dana 30 high pinion. Not super strong, but it's fine. They used it in most Cherokees. And the rear axle here, well, this is not ideal. It's a Dana 35. So once again, it's not gonna take that big of a tire, but we're not looking to put a huge tire on it. Some Comanches did have a Dana 44 in the rear. That would be cool to find, but might be a little bit out of our budget and a little bit tricky to track down. This does have, I believe, 307 gears, so it's not super aggressive for off-road, but let me tell you what, with these small tires in stock form, the thing hauls butt, especially it being a short bed. This is one light truck, people. Let's talk about cosmetics for a second. Now from 20 feet, the truck looks excellent, and it looks even better on video, but as you get close, you can see that it's still a 30-year-old truck, so it's got its fair share of dings and scratches. Now the plan is we're gonna keep the paint original. It's only original once. It still has the original graphics down the side, which are really cool. You can see down here, especially on this flare, how it's been eaten up by probably rocks at some point, or it's just corroded, and maybe we can get the flares redone, but the paint itself is in pretty good condition. We're gonna keep it original. In the front, there are some things that we can clean up for sure. This grill, as many of you pointed, is actually on upside down, so we'll get that sorted out. Probably just get a new grill for it because it's missing some slots here and there. And in the front, the bumper is dead straight, but is certainly a little worn down, so maybe we can actually repaint that front bumper. This side is a similar story. You know, you have some dings and scratches down the side. This is by far the worst on the truck, unfortunately, is it looks like someone took some wire brush to the side or something. That is terrible. Maybe we can get that sorted. But you know, guys, it's a cheap Jeep, right? It's an off-roady truck. It's gonna be used like that. Preserve it rather than restore it. I love this Jeep down the back. Now, other plans for the exterior. Well, we may need your help on this one, actually. Some of these early Comanches had a factory roll bar in the back. It's like a bed bar. It extends up. You often see them with lights up top. It's really cool, and it's really period. Now, tracking one of those puppies down is very hard indeed, especially for a short bed Comanche. So if any of you guys have any leads on where we might be able to find one, that would be greatly appreciated, because we got to get this truck to Moab for the Easter Jeep Safari, which is coming up very quickly. The interior of the truck is, well, it's pretty much perfect actually. The seat is in excellent condition, practically brand new. The dash has no cracks in it, original steering wheel, original console there where the shifter lives. We do want to get rid of this awful stereo. This is like one of the terrible, oh, I'm not even gonna do that. It's gonna pull the whole thing out of the dash. Terrible, like, what do you think? Mid to late 90s replacement units. It looks terrible. Maybe find an original one would be cool, or a retro style. But carpets are in excellent shape. We need to get some floor mats for it. The interior, we're not really gonna touch though, because it looks excellent. Let's take a quick look at the bed. This is certainly not original. It's like a top of the tailgate guard here. We'll probably just leave that. Doesn't look too bad. Pop it open. Well, it's a truck, and all things considered, the bed is in very good shape for the age. Down here on the rear right, that's the only bit of rust on the entire truck, but that should clean up nicely, and the rest of the bed still has paint in it, which is good for a truck of this age. Now, I think it would look really good to bedline this truck, protect it as it gets older, just try to make it look a little bit better overall. The rest of the truck is so clean. It would be nice to have the bed look similar in terms of condition. Okay, let's see what's going on with this transmission here. So, first of all, show me someone who thinks their engine is smoother than a Jeep Straight 6, and I'll show you a liar. Oh, these Straight 6s, when they're tuned properly, are silky smooth. So let's see what gears we have and what gears are a little crunchy. So first of all, reverse, that's always a good one to have. Yep, we got reverse, that's always handy. What about first? Yep, first goes in without a problem. Hit the road. Okay, first is good. Into second. Yep, Second is fine. What about third? Oh, little crunch into third. See if I can replicate that. Oh, yep, third is a little bit crunchy. How about fourth? No, that's okay. Oh, there it is. Oh, crunchy. So third and fourth are a little bit crunchy. And what about fifth? Oh, fifth feels good. So fourth, yep, fourth is a little crunchy. And third is crunchy. And it gets worse, I can tell you, once the engine is cold, or when the engine is cold. So it is worth noting that if you rev match correctly, third and fourth don't crunch. And we talked to our transmission guys over at Zach's about it, and they think it's a problem with the synchros and not with the gear set, which is good because synchros are pretty replaceable for pretty affordable. Gear sets, on the other hand, are not. Now, one thing that is cool about these old Comanches is, let me show you, this thing is fast as heck. Wow! I think it's because this engine puts out roughly 180 horsepower, around 220 pound-feet of torque, but the truck doesn't weigh anything. So this thing's a little hot rod with a crunchy transmission. Once we get the transmission sorted, this thing should drive like a dream. So it's not totally toast. I think this transmission is savable.
Hey guys, we brought the Comanche here to Zach's transmission shop in Longmont. They specialize kind of in classic vehicles and 4x4s. And him and his man, Josh, are gonna tear into the transmission. We're gonna find out if it's only synchros that need replacing or if it's the whole Peugeot unit. So let's head on in and find out just how good, bad, or inexpensive or expensive this job is gonna be. So you said there are 3 or 4 tests, right? So first you got to pull the transmission out of the truck.
Yes, you got to pull up the transmission.
Yeah.
Then it goes into the disassembly stage, so you can get the internal inspection of the unit.
Yeah.
From there, then we go the cleanup phase, and then it can be in the reassembly phase of the unit itself, the rebuilding process.
Yeah.
And then it gets back in. Then you've got to prove if you worked or not. I put it back in the car, make sure it shifts and does its job, so it doesn't leak that kind
And so we think 4th and 5th synchros are shot.
From when we first we looked at it, the synchro systems are shot.
What could potentially be worse than that once you tear it apart? What's the best case scenario and what's the worst case scenario?
Well, we're looking for a unit. If it's really the worst case scenario, we have parts we can't find.
Yeah, then we're looking for probably not a BA10 though.
No. Yeah, we're getting rid of that damn Peugeot.
Exactly.
Notorious for getting thinner and thinner on parts. We go to an X15 swap. But trying to keep your budget in mind.
Appreciate it.
We're looking at this Peugeot and see if there's something we can do to replace.
Can you find synchros for a BA10?
These are, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
There's so many areas when it comes to the insides you have to look at, where the skilled eye comes into place.
All right, so we're going to find out next whether this thing is salvageable and whether we're going to spend a lot on our cheap or just not quite a lot.
Yeah, exactly. See where we go next, man.
All right, thanks.
Time will tell.
Thanks, Andy.
First things first we have to do is we have to pull the inside of the car to get the shifter out of the floorboard so we can access the transmission and get out. Once that's out, we get up in there, drain the fluids, pull the transfer case, pull drive shafts, pull the transmission out of it. That's where our next steps are.
So all in all, I'm pretty impressed with this Comanche now that we've got it up on the lift. There's, a lot of wear and tear, but really no significant rust to speak of, nothing that you wouldn't expect from a truck that's from '89. We also have, as far as I can tell, no body damage, so it looks like this bad boy was never in a car or truck crash. Looks like it's just been, a good old-fashioned farm truck. So well used, but well loved, I think. All right, so we've got all the important bits out of the way now, including the exhaust. Let's take a look at the exhaust. Come on with me. Come on under here. You see that? Look at that. It's pretty shot. I think we're gonna have to add a new exhaust to our budget, and that'll be good actually. So what we can do is probably get something that's a little bit more free-flowing. Hopefully sounds a little bit better and kind of make this thing sound as good as it looks. But yeah, I think that's gonna be something else that we have to add to our ongoing list of to-dos. All right, that didn't take too long. I think we're almost at the moment of truth. Time to lower this transmission and hopefully crack it open and see exactly how much damage or not we have in this really weird. Why would you have an American Jeep with a French transmission? What were they thinking back then? What were you thinking, Jeep? Alright guys, so if you're ever wondering what's the difference between a four-wheel drive and an all-wheel drive, it's right here. It's basically a transfer case. And you can see right here it's got two places where the drive shafts go. So let's see, that's facing forward, this is the front drive shaft and this is the rear drive shaft. So what happens is the revolutions, the power from the 4-liter go in there, go through the transmission, you pick what gear you want, then normally what would happen is you would just send them straight to the rear wheels, but this is a transfer case, so what you have here is the ability to actually increase the torque of the engine by changing the gear set, by putting it in low gear, and then you can also send the power this way, which is actually forward, so you can get both rear wheel drive and front wheel drive, in essence all-wheel drive. Now an all-wheel drive car would not have a transfer case. It would have a way of having the power going to the front and the rear wheels, but you wouldn't be able to increase the torque, the power of the engine by actually gearing it down. So the Comanche was pretty unique in the Jeep world because from the front, from the B-pillar forward, this was what was known internally as an XJ or a Cherokee. Why it's unique is because the Cherokee was basically a unibody vehicle, but since this is a truck, it has to have much more support for the bed, and that's why you've got these two very thick frame members that actually go all the way back. So kind of forward here, it's unibody, back of here, it's ladder frame, sort of, kind of. It's kind of unique and kind of cool and actually really heavy duty. I mean, look at these things. I mean, these are some pretty sturdy members to actually keep this truck as one unit as opposed to actually, you know, Comanche / Cherokee hybrid. So what we got here is a drain table. We're going to drain the transmission. That's the last step before we get the builder, Zach in this case, to actually take a look inside and see what what works and what doesn't work. All right guys, this is Zach. This is your shop, Zach, and you are the master builder here, so now it's your turn, and I'm going to let you kind of take it from here. So tell me, what's going to happen next? What are you going to do to this transmission?
Well, we got to make it come into pieces now.
Yeah, this is the fun part.
Yeah, it's the next dirty part. Yeah. So after this stage, we'll rip this thing all the way down into square one. Okay. Where we'll see all the internals come apart. Yep. We'll be able to inspect all the insides to see what's worn, what's damaged, what's broke. Yep. See how good of a life, or how bad of a life this unit or this Jeep's had now. So. All right,
let me ask you this. When's the last time you saw a Peugeot unit? How long ago was that?
Shoot. We were talking about that earlier. I think both my builder and I say it's probably been 15, maybe 17 years since we've actually seen one of these. I'll lie to you, most times we see these kind of units, we try to convince the customer to update to an AX15. Yeah, so just because of the parts availability is much easier.
So eventually Jeep put an AX15 into the Comanche. I think it was 1990 was when they went. That's an 89. We just missed it by 1 year. But here's the thing, right? It's going to be more expensive to do that, especially if this one, all it needs is a couple synchros.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so to do an AX15, we're going to have to either buy a new one, which is going to be thousands, or go to the junkyard, pull one, and then the problem is you still have to tear it apart.
Tear it apart and go through it because they're in the junkyard for a reason.
Yeah, so they're probably not there because they were working like a dream.
No, not at all. So, yeah, most of the time these things were not as durable as the X15, but again, back in the newer age.
Yeah, and we're not, look, dude, we're not putting 37s on it. No. We want a driver, we want an original truck, so I think this is the right way. So from now on, you're going to be listening to him, and he's going to kind of go through what he's going to be doing, and that is coming up on the next episode of this Jeep Challenge. As always, this is Roman and my man Zach saying thanks for watching, and check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and of course, Jeep reviews. See you guys next time. Ciao. Coming up next time on the Jeep pickup challenge. Best case scenario is we've got a couple synchros that are shot, right?
Correct.
And the worst case scenario is this transmission shot.
Correct. The difference between good and bad, new and old.
Our cheap Jeep is getting very expensive. Guess how much it costs to do the transmission work on this?
How much?